So today my talk will be a little bit scientific, but hopefully it will give you the inspiration to see the impact and the applications behind changes. It's quite often that when I visit a different country, when I meet new people, when I get introduced to a group of people, after the usual introduction saying, how are you, what's your name, and so on, it's where are you from? Because we all look different. When I say Yemen, inside me I always say Yemen, which is really proud of from young age. Thank you. So then it becomes interesting to see their reaction. Some of them know exactly where Yemen is, the location, the geographical borders, and so on. But the others, they get confused, saying, is it the East Horn of Africa, which is the closest thing I heard? But one of the funniest responses I received was, how come you don't look like a typical Yemeni? And I said, what does a typical Yemeni look like? They said he should have a blonde hair and blue eyes. I was shocked. And at that point, I knew that that guy thought I am from Germany, which is close to Yemen in his language, which is Yermeni. And then I corrected him by taking my mobile phone out, and I showed him the world map. And then, when I wanted him to guess where Yemen is, he didn't know exactly where it is because he doesn't have that geographical interest. And then I pinpointed that location for him. And he knew exactly where Yemen is, and he read more about Yemen information, the history, the economy, and so on. Now, geography is fun, and I always loved geography. I enjoy reading about countries, their location, geographical positions, and so on. But the part that is interesting for me was how was I able to get information sitting in a different room than my home or my office, getting everything I needed about the world map, the location of Yemen, and the information is needed. And that's because I have my mobile phone with the electronics and the wireless devices necessary to do that. And the part that I'm most fascinated about and passionate about is the antenna and electromagnetism. Because without it, you can't have the wireless communication we have today. It becomes really complex. And because TEDxSanaa didn't allow us to have mobile phones, interface with video and so on, can I borrow a mobile phone from one of the audience, please? If it's... Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mazen. So the mobile phone here has got complex electronics in it, the communication devices. But the part that I'm interested about, and the part that without you can't get information or make mobile phone, is inside it. I'll try to open this mobile phone, and I hope the guy who gave me the phone doesn't get upset. TEDx will reimburse you, so don't worry. Yeah? So, okay. Sorry, whoever you are. Okay, so what you have here is all the components and all the different electronics. But what's interesting is this metal part at the bottom. It looks simple. It's just a strip of metal designed in a way that it should operate at something specific, which is the mobile phone operator you link with. So second generation mobile phone, third generation, one of these antennas, different shapes, different sizes, will work for wireless LAN, for Bluetooth, and for GPS. And I know most of you can't see it because the lighting and the distance, I have a close, so I thought about that earlier. So it was a joke, by the way. It's not his phone, it's my phone. I broke it up, and we staged all that. So don't worry about that. TEDx doesn't need to reimburse anyone any money. So what happens here is that this antenna, if it's designed correctly, you can get the best communication link. If it's designed with mind that is going to be surrounded by all that electronics, it can achieve the quality that we need from our communication today. The antenna is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and I'm specifically in the part where radio waves operate. And what got me interested even more about this is that I'm dealing with something I can't see, which we call the invisible radio waves. I can't see them, we can't visualize them with our bare eyes. So we have to look deeper into how they operate and how they work. And for someone who's from young age was always interested how toys operate, how they can move, how they can behave, and how they actually make noises, I end up always breaking them up. Because that's the best way to learn. Curiosity gets the best of me. And I feel sorry for my poor parents because they always keep on buying toys for me. And it's really the encouragement. They never gave up on me being curious about how stuff works and how they operate. They always encourage me to do that. So now, before I move forward into understanding how this works, curiosity got even worse at university level. Because we were given a task saying, you need to build this transmitter and receiver. So how can I design that? How can I design a mobile phone? The first one I designed with a group of students, my peers actually in the class, it was the height of my body. So I was sure there's something wrong going on, because I just took component from a shop, bought it, put it all together, and managed to get it done. But then I was advised to take a step back. It's really important to always take a step back in life. Because when I took a step back and looked at the basics of what I'm talking about, electromagnetics and antenna, it was actually the name James Clerk Maxwell and his equations. When I first saw this equation, I thought, to hell with university, I'm leaving, and that's me inspiring you guys. No, but seriously, so jokes aside, looking at this equation, I was so scared. The same as when you look at maths and physics and the complexity, and I'm sure most of you have seen that before. But the trick is you always have to look behind the challenge and the wall that's created there. And what encouraged me to even push forward in this field is the fact that I saw Maxwell's related electric, magnetic, maths with time and space. Now we have wireless communication and mobile phone. What also we have? Satellite communication. So we can actually get all TV channels and so on. We can also understand our universe if someone is surviving out there. Yeah, and an earlier speaker told us there's someone up there, so we believe her. And then, even more interesting is that now we can relate it directly to our lives. Our healthcare is the best thing that people relate to. Because now we can have all these wireless devices, which includes the antenna and all the science behind electromagnetism, attached to our body, getting information like our heart rate from inside the body and so on. Then that even pushed me further, and curiosity got me worse, and I started taking these antennas, I started building them, doing more research on them, and I started sticking these antennas on myself. I put it on me in a lab, a specially made lab. This is me looking older than I look now. And then I moved around with it, because you never stay in a lab controlling your devices. You're always out and about. Sometimes you're on a beach, sometimes you're in a building, or the old town in Sana'a and so on. But that was a bit cumbersome. It was difficult really to handle. A cable always attached to me. The equipment has to follow me everywhere. But then my friend came for the help. I was crying when I found him from joy. Because this phantom, the solid phantom, I can stick wireless devices on him, or her, it could be either male or female, and then stick the device on the phantom and get the information out and keep tracking that information. But if you remember earlier, I said we're dealing with the invisible here. Apart radio waves, I can't see. So how am I going to handle them? Or how do I understand when I put an antenna on my body that it's going to go this direction, that direction, or everywhere, or it's going to bend around my body? So in that case, we thought Maxwell created equations. And we know that computers is all about maths, equations implemented in an electronic way. And that's what we did, implemented this equation, and now we can visualize what happened to radio waves when they are surrounding the human body. You can see them curved and going around. You can get some energy on the side and some little energy on the back. And that helped us a lot in understanding how they communicate. And you might wonder, okay, that's fine, you love your science, you're a geek. What can we do with that? So the story here is that how does that matter to society and people in general? And how it does matter? Because what we care, or the research we're dealing with, is how we attach wireless devices on you that's actually not quite visible. So they're small sensors, small devices, something similar to this side button that can be part of your clothing or part of whatever wristwatch you're wearing. So this information can actually take any medical data, for example, your heart rate, your body temperature, your ECG, whatever medical data required, and transmit it to a mobile phone, a tablet, or to a wireless access point that most people have today, and then to the medical carer or the doctor and so on. Then, where I'm doing my research, it's really important to show them that the impact, not influencing only the people, the elite who can benefit from it. But what makes it more important is that we know that from the statistics, by 2030, elderly people, which is defined as people aged 65 and over. In certain countries, certain parts of the world, like the USA, there will be 20% of them over 65 of the population. In UK and European Union, it will be 25%. And in China, it will be 13%. And you can imagine what 13% for China means. Yeah, loads of money. So then that encourages us even more to get understanding of what's happening. But then I thought, I'm coming to TEDxSanaa, so I really need to understand how that relates to Yemen in general. I did the statistics. I found out that in Yemen, at the moment, the current statistics, that people aged between 15 and 64 actually makes up 54% of the population. And people aged over 65 is less than 3%, which is quite shocking. So this actually pushes us even further to implement such a technology and such understanding for people in this group age, the young group age, to let them survive for longer, live healthier, so they can contribute to the country, so they can make it the Yemen they actually dream of, or they want it to be in the coming few years. Then I thought, it's not all about healthcare and getting medical data because people get bored about that. We thought, everyone talks about Facebook. I just heard they're talking about us now on Facebook. Well, that's interesting. God knows what they're saying, but that doesn't matter now. So the social networking is really important. Facebook, Twitter, it was all virtual now, and we need to bring it back into physical domain, into how I can actually communicate with people and get the best out of the data. I now have my lovely assistant, Ahmed. A round of applause for Ahmed, please. You've got the description on the slides, but what Ahmed is wearing is what we call the icebreaker t-shirt. And the icebreaker t-shirt, what does it do? Actually has a connection to a wireless network, to a social network. It's Facebook, Google+, or Twitter, and so on. It's got a radio frequency identification, which identifies who I am and who is Ahmed from his name, age, and his Facebook page, Twitter link. And the whole point is that if we both are very shy and sit in the corner in an event like TEDx, we get to shake hands. I don't have a t-shirt. It was expensive to bring. So. Shake in hand, and you'll see here that it recognizes the handshake by blue. And then what happens there, it actually pulls the information of Ahmed and my information from Facebook, Google, and Twitter, compares it, and then this color map here shows the compatibility. At the moment, it shows the green being the brighter, which means we have some stuff in common. So he must actually like Barcelona. Yeah. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you. See you later. But that's all fun, and that's all putting stuff on our body. But what we wanted to do is take that leap from science fiction to reality a bit further and challenge our abilities and our scientific mind, curiosity, and so on. So we wanted to put stuff inside your body, because we're still in the dark when it comes to inside the human body, unless you want to open your body and see every organ step by step. Everyone, not everyone, some of you are aware of endoscopy. The camera with a pipe goes from this way or another way. I don't want to describe it. But it's quite invasive, because that way is quite invasive and you don't feel comfortable. And one of the boards that we worked with is actually a capsule-sized communication device, or what we call the wireless capsule, and this is wireless endoscopy. You swallow it. Obviously, it has to be biocompatible. It's related to biodegradable material and so on. You swallow this capsule, and it keeps taking pictures while the camera is going through your body. And it relays this information to the doctor or the carer, and it gives them a better idea of what's going on. And this can be extended to more stuff, controlling your heart, pumping your kidney, controlling the liver function. Everything can be stimulated because the brain controls it. Brain can send signals about waves and maths, and we know all about this information and this stuff. And everything I talked about now is still related to something we can achieve physically. We can actually build by devices, and I'm sure some people here can't do it actually the next day or next coming week and so on. But we wanted to challenge this even further and further after understanding how waves work. This is the same what we've done with Maxwell's equation. Again, Maxwell to the help, telling us what happens when the wave leaves the stomach. So you see the information coming out of the body. But we wanted to challenge what the physical domain understands about the appearances of objects. So now I moved up in the electromagnetic spectrum, and I took it to the light spectrum. Light is not white, it's different colors, red, blue, green, and so on. So it's complex. So the question is, can we actually make objects and people invisible or make them disappear, right? Well, people say, well, so. To prove it is that we need to learn from nature. Mirage. How does a mirage take place? The light bends from the sky. When the light bends from the sky, it appears as a water pool. But it's a trick, right? That's fine, because as an engineer, I can make wave bends by building special materials. Now in nature, cuttlefishes and octopus, they can be 100% invisible. You can never see them unless you become really close, and then it becomes really scary for them and they make themselves visible. The question now, I want to throw to the audience, polar bear, everyone aware of them, they're quite cute, and savage at the same time. So, are they black-skinned or white-skinned? Yeah, some of them answered right, which is black-skinned. The polar bear has a black skin. It appears white because the hair is translucent. It takes light from the surrounding and reflects it into your eyes. So it's tricking your eyes by manipulating light. So getting stuff from impossible to reality, like the invisibility cloak in Harry Potter and James Bond movies, is actually becoming a step closer to what we want to achieve. It's in labs and computers now, but will happen. They laughed at Abbas bin Firnas when he said, I want to fly. And look who's joking now, right? No one recognizes his contribution, but everyone knows he's the first one to think about flying. And he is doing it now. It takes a team to build something, right? It takes a team to make sure that impossible is nothing and we can beat it. It takes a team to understand that a challenge is a hurdle, and once we look at it as a hurdle that we can jump like athletes, we can beat it, and we can achieve whatever we want. And we can make impossibility and science fiction a reality. And thank you very much.